7. Stoic lessons to master yourself through control. If you cannot command yourself, then everything else you command is meaningless. A man may conquer lands, build empires, and even bend others to his will. Yet if he is ruled by his own impulses, he is no more than a decorated slave. This is the hard truth the Stoics have always taught, and it is where all true philosophy begins, with the mastery of the self. Think for a moment about the battles you face each day. You wake with intentions, but distractions scatter them. You want to act with patience, yet anger slips out of your mouth before you even realize it. You long for peace, but desire whispers in your ear until you chase after things you do not need. The world may not conquer you, but your own undisciplined mind surely does. This is why we must turn inward. The Stoics understood that control is not about tyranny, not about choking every emotion or crushing every thought, but about ruling with wisdom. Just as a good king governs his people, not with chaos, but with law and order, so too must you govern your soul. If you let whims rule you, you are tossed like a ship in a storm. But if you learn the art of discipline, then no storm can sink you. Ask yourself, who really holds power over your life? The man who insults you? The woman who rejects you? The boss who fires you? Or is it the thoughts you form about these things? The choices you make in response? The measure of control you exercise in the fire of the moment? Here lies the essence of Stoic strength. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor surrounded by armies and flatterers, reminded himself daily that all power is worthless without control of the mind. He knew that ruling Rome mattered little if passions ruled him. Epictetus, a slave beaten and mocked, was freer than kings because he had trained his will to bow only to reason. Seneca, surrounded by wealth and politics, taught that a man's true riches are found in needing little, not in possessing much. Each of these men understood the same eternal law: mastery of self is the foundation of freedom. You too are called to this battle. Do not imagine it an easy one. The enemy lives within you, your cravings, your fears, your ego, your impatience. But unlike the battles of this world, victory here is certain if you commit yourself. Each day you have the chance to strengthen the will, to sharpen perception, to discipline action. Each day you either move closer to freedom or deeper into slavery. There are 7 lessons that form the pillars of this self-mastery. They are not abstract theories, but weapons for the soul, forged in the fire of human struggle and passed down by those who endured chains, crowns, exile, and death with unshakable spirit. These lessons will teach you to see the world rightly, to free yourself from the chains of desire, to act with discipline, to guard your words, to master your reactions, to value your time, and to humble your ego before the vastness of life. As you hear these lessons, do not merely listen with curiosity. Take them into your daily battles. Use them when anger rises, when desire burns, when fear paralyzes you, when pride blinds you. Philosophy is not a set of ideas for idle talk. It is a medicine for the soul, a guide for action, a training ground for warriors of the mind. So, let us begin this journey together. Imagine yourself as a general about to take command of a restless army. That army is your thoughts, your passions, your habits. Will you let them fight each other in chaos, leaving you defeated before the world even lifts a finger? Or will you step forward, seize command, and bring order through wisdom and discipline? The choice is yours, and it begins now. The first step toward mastering yourself is to take control of your perceptions. This is the gateway through which all experience passes. The world does not strike us directly. It filters through the lens of the mind. 2 people may face the same event, yet walk away with entirely different realities. One sees insult, the other sees opportunity. One sees tragedy, the other sees training. The rain falls on all, but not all curse the sky. Epictetus said it plainly. It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. The insult itself is only air vibrating in the mouth of another. The misfortune is only a shift of events in the vast flow of life. What gives them sting is the interpretation you attach. If you can separate the raw fact from the judgment, you can take back your freedom. This is why control of perception is the foundation of Stoicism. Without it, every emotion, every reaction, every decision is poisoned by distortion. You cannot master anger if you misinterpret offense. You cannot master fear if you imagine shadows as monsters. You cannot master desire if you see luxuries as necessities. But when you see clearly, reality itself becomes lighter to bear. Picture a soldier marching through a storm. One says, "The gods are against me, the sky itself hates me." He shivers in despair, each drop cutting into his spirit. Another says, "The storm hardens me, the rain teaches me endurance." He grows stronger with each step. The storm was the same, but perception changed its weight. This is what Marcus Aurelius meant when he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He trained his mind to transform every obstacle into fuel. Disease became a chance to practice courage, betrayal a chance to practice forgiveness, loss a chance to practice detachment. Reality did not bend to his will, but his perception turned reality into a servant of his growth. You can do the same. When someone insults you, pause before letting anger rise. Ask, what has really happened here? Words have been spoken, but is my character harmed? No, unless I give them power, they remain powerless. When difficulty arrives, ask, is this the end, or is this training? The weight placed on me may break me if I curse it, but it will strengthen me if I lift it. Think of your perception as a lens. If it is cracked, everything appears broken. If it is clear, the world reveals itself as it is, indifferent, neutral, ready to be shaped by your response. Your task is not to polish the world, but to polish your lens. One practice the Stoics used was the art of reframing. Instead of saying, "I lost everything," they would say, "I have been freed from many burdens." Instead of saying, "I am suffering," they would say, "I am being tested." Instead of saying, "I am unlucky," they would say, "I have been given a chance to prove my strength." In this way, perception transforms poison into medicine. Modern life offers endless examples. A co-worker criticizes you in front of others. If your perception tells you this is humiliation, your pride burns. But if your perception reframes it as feedback, even if delivered harshly, then you have gained insight into how you are seen, and you can use it to improve. Or imagine a cancelled opportunity. If your perception insists it was your only chance, despair will crush you. But if you view it as a door closing so another may open, you remain open to possibility. This control of perception does not mean denying reality. The Stoic does not pretend pain is pleasant or loss is nothing. He sees reality exactly as it is, stripped of exaggeration, stripped of unnecessary judgment. The pain is there, but he does not add the story that it is unbearable. The loss is there, but he does not weave the tale that life is meaningless because of it. Train yourself each day to make this separation. When something disturbs you, write it down in 2 columns: what happened and what you told yourself about what happened. The first column is reality. The second is perception. This exercise reveals how much of your suffering is self-created. With practice, the mind learns to catch itself in the act, to pause, to step back, and to choose a wiser perception. If you can master your perception, you will walk through the same world as everyone else, but live in a different reality. Where others see enemies, you see teachers. Where others see chaos, you see patterns. Where others see despair, you see training. This is the alchemy of the Stoic mind, and it begins with the simple, profound decision to take control of how you see. The world will not stop testing you. The insults will come, the misfortunes will strike, the storms will rage, but you are not a leaf blown helplessly in the wind. You are the sailor steering the ship. You cannot command the sea, but you can command the sail. And that, in the end, makes all the difference. If perception governs how we see the world, desire governs how we move within it. To master yourself, you must master what you long for, because nothing enslaves a man more quickly than unchecked desire. A hungry mind can never be full. It consumes everything it touches, and yet it starves. The Stoics taught that freedom is not found in abundance, but in sufficiency. The one who wants little possesses everything, while the one who wants everything possesses nothing at all. Seneca warned that poverty is not the absence of wealth, but the endless craving for it. You may live in a palace, but if you are restless for more, you are poor. You may live in a hut, but if you are content, you are rich. The chain of desire is subtle. It convinces you that just one more possession, one more achievement, one more recognition will complete you. But the moment you grasp it, your hand is empty again. You begin to chase shadows, and the shadows lead you deeper into slavery. Look around at the world today. Desire drives entire empires of commerce. Billions are spent convincing you to want what you do not need. You are told you are incomplete without the latest device, the newest car, the bigger house. Your worth is measured by accumulation, not by contentment. And yet, where is the peace? Why do those who gain the most often remain the most restless? Because desire grows like fire. It feeds on fuel, and the more you give it, the greater it rages. The Stoic path is not the rejection of all things, but the right ordering of them. Marcus Aurelius still lived as emperor. Seneca still possessed wealth. But they knew these were not sources of freedom or happiness. They treated them as tools, not masters. If taken away, their peace remained. That is the key: to use possessions without being possessed, to enjoy blessings without being enslaved by them, to let go without despair. Cato, the Roman statesman, practiced this truth by living in deliberate simplicity, wearing plain clothing, walking barefoot in public. Why? To train his soul not to fear poverty, not to cling to luxury, but to prove that he was master of his desires, not their servant. If comfort was taken from him, he had already rehearsed life without it. He could not be broken by loss because he had chosen to live free of its chains long before. We too must practice this art. Ask yourself, how much of what I desire is truly necessary? Do I need luxury to survive, or do I only crave it because others parade it before me? Do I need the applause of strangers, or is that merely the ego's hunger disguised as fulfillment? What is enough? This is the most radical question you can ask in an age built on endless wanting. The practice of reducing desire begins with gratitude. When you wake, do not ask, "What do I lack?" Ask instead, "What do I already have?" Food on the table, shelter from the storm, air to breathe, water to drink, people who love you, or perhaps even just the gift of consciousness itself. Gratitude turns what you have into enough, and enough into abundance. Another practice is voluntary discomfort. Sleep on the floor for a night, eat only coarse bread for a meal, go a day without spending. Remind yourself of how little the body actually requires, and how much of your misery comes from the mind's insistence on excess. Epictetus, who once lived as a slave, reminded his students that the body needs little: warmth, food, shelter. But the mind creates endless desires that bind us. When you strip life back to its essentials, you discover how much freedom lies in simplicity. Consider the difference between desire and necessity. Necessity is hunger satisfied with food, thirst quenched with water, a body clothed against the cold. Desire is hunger insisting on delicacies, thirst demanding fine wines, clothing parading as vanity. Necessity is natural and limited. Desire is artificial and limitless. If you pursue necessities, you will find peace. If you chase desires, you will never find rest. In the modern world, many are trapped by desires disguised as progress. A man buys a car not because he needs one, but because he wants status. A woman craves not clothing to protect her body, but endless fashions to impress others. The result is chains of debt, envy, and discontent. They labor not for freedom, but for the insatiable appetite of desire. The Stoic refuses this slavery. He works to master himself, not to decorate his cage. True wealth, then, lies not in the abundance of possessions, but in the absence of greed. The man who can walk past luxuries without envy, who can live simply without complaint, who can say with calm conviction, "I have enough," is freer than kings. He is untouchable because nothing can be taken from him that would strip his peace. So when desire whispers to you, pause and ask, who rules whom? Do I command this want, or does this want command me? If you can master that question, you hold the key to your own liberation. The world may tempt you with its glittering chains, but you will not kneel because you have already chosen freedom over indulgence, sufficiency over slavery. And this is the paradox. When you no longer cling to desire, you can finally enjoy what life gives you. You can taste food without craving excess, wear clothing without vanity, hold wealth without fear, love others without possessiveness. You become rich, not by adding more to your life, but by subtracting the grip of desire. In that subtraction lies the truest abundance a soul can know. The third lesson is the control of your actions. Perception governs what you see, desire governs what you want, but action is where philosophy takes form. All the wisdom in the world means nothing if it does not shape the way you live. The Stoics insisted that virtue is not an idea to be admired, but a habit to be practiced. It is through action that your character is revealed. You may say you value courage, but if you flee when the moment demands bravery, your words are empty. You may praise justice, but if your deeds betray dishonesty, your philosophy is worthless. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." The emperor understood that the greatest trap for thinkers is endless discussion without execution. Words about virtue must become works of virtue. To speak about patience is one thing. To hold your tongue when anger burns is another. To write about moderation is one thing. To stop your hand from reaching for excess is another. Action is the ground where philosophy is tested, the arena where mastery is proven. Control of action requires discipline. Discipline does not mean harshness toward yourself, but consistency in directing your will. A soldier does not win battles by training once. He drills daily until the body obeys the mind without hesitation. Likewise, self-mastery is not gained by a single effort, but by steady practice. Each decision, each small choice, either strengthens your habit of discipline or weakens it. A day wasted in idleness seems small, but repeated, it forges chains you cannot see. A day of intentional action seems small, but repeated, it builds strength you cannot imagine. Epictetus, though born a slave, understood this truth deeply. He could not control the whip in his master's hand, but he could control his own conduct. He chose dignity over despair, principle over bitterness. His actions, small as they seemed, formed a fortress that no external power could breach. Freedom, for him, was not waiting for release from chains, but choosing his manner of living even within them. This is the essence of Stoic action, to live by principle regardless of circumstance. Your own life may not face chains of iron, but it faces chains of habit, distraction, and procrastination. You wake with intentions, but the pull of comfort seduces you. You wish to act with integrity, but compromise whispers that no one will notice. Each time you yield, your actions betray your higher self. The Stoic answer is simple but demanding. Act as if every choice defines you, because it does. Every deed is a stone laid in the structure of your character. To control action, you must align it with reason and virtue. Ask yourself before each decision, does this serve courage, justice, self-control, or wisdom? If it does not, then you are trading away your highest good for a fleeting pleasure or fear. The Stoics believed that the good life is nothing more than the accumulation of right actions, just as a great statue is the accumulation of countless chisels by the sculptor's hand. Practically, the Stoics trained themselves by reflection. In the morning, they prepared their minds. Today, I will meet people who are selfish, rude, and unjust. Yet, I will act according to my principles, not theirs. At night, they reviewed their day. Where did I act with wisdom? Where did I fail? What can I improve tomorrow? These simple practices sharpened their will, for action is refined by awareness. Without reflection, you stumble blindly, excusing yourself for every misstep. With reflection, you see clearly where you must improve and resolve to do better. Consider how this lesson applies today. You are tempted to waste hours in distraction. If you let impulse command you, your time is lost. But if you pause and act with intention, you reclaim your life. You face pressure at work to bend your integrity. If you yield, you gain short-term advantage but lose long-term peace. If you act with justice, you may suffer in the moment but keep the treasure of a clear conscience. The Stoic does not ask, what is easiest? He asks, what is right? And he acts accordingly. Discipline of action also means persistence. Many begin with fire but fade with time. A Stoic trains for life, not for a season. Like an athlete who strengthens muscles through repetition, you must strengthen your will through daily choices. Do not despise small victories. Rising when you wish to remain in bed, speaking truth when silence would be safer, restraining indulgence when temptation calls. These are the quiet acts that forge mastery. Remember that you cannot control outcomes, only actions. The archer controls his aim, his stance, his release, but not the flight of the arrow once it leaves his hand. Likewise, you may act with all the wisdom and justice you can muster, yet the world may still resist you. This does not matter. The value lies in the act itself, not in the result. Success is not always to achieve, but always to act in accordance with virtue. When you take control of your actions, you cease to live as a victim of circumstance. You cease to drift like a leaf blown by wind. Instead, you move as a man or woman of purpose, with each step deliberate, each deed aligned with principle. The world may mock you, oppose you, or strip away what you build, but it cannot rob you of the nobility of action rightly chosen. So act. Act when fear tells you to retreat. Act when desire tells you to indulge. Act when comfort tells you to rest. Each time you do, you strengthen the chain of mastery within yourself. And in the end, when your days are counted, it will not be what you dreamed or what you desired that defines you, but what you did. The fourth lesson is the control of your speech. Words are the messengers of your mind, and once they leave your mouth, you cannot recall them. They can heal or they can wound, build trust or destroy it, bring peace or ignite war. To master yourself, You must master your tongue, for it is the bridge between your inner life and the world around you. The Stoics knew that silence is often wiser than speech. Zeno, the founder of the school, trained his students to value restraint in words. Epictetus warned that a man who cannot govern his speech reveals that he cannot govern his mind. Seneca taught that words should be weighed, not counted. A torrent of careless speech reveals a scattered soul, but a few deliberate words reveal a disciplined one. Consider how often misery comes not from what was done, but from what was said. Friendships are broken by rash words, reputations are destroyed by gossip, peace is shattered by anger spoken aloud. You may feel anger rise within, but until you give it a voice, it is still yours to control. Once spoken, it owns you. The wound of a word can outlast the sting of any blow. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to speak only what is true and useful. This is a guide we can carry. Is what I am about to say true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? If it fails these tests, silence is the stronger choice. Silence is not weakness but power, for it shows you rule your impulses instead of serving them. Modern life tempts us with constant speech. Social media invites us to comment on everything, to give opinions before thought, to react before reflection. This culture of noise makes restraint seem old-fashioned, but it is more necessary than ever. In a world that cannot stop talking, the man who controls his words stands out like a lighthouse in the storm. To control your speech, practice two arts: brevity and listening. Brevity disciplines you to speak less, but with more weight. A single sentence of truth carries more power than 1,000 words of chatter. Listening disciplines you to value others before yourself, to give attention rather than seek it. The Stoic understands that listening is often the highest form of respect, and that speaking without listening is arrogance. Exercises in discipline of speech can sharpen this mastery. Try a day of speaking only when asked. Try responding to insult not with defense, but with silence. Try replacing complaint with reflection, gossip with encouragement. You will discover how often you are tempted to speak needlessly and how powerful restraint can be. Imagine a man who always speaks with clarity and calm. His words are few but carefully chosen. He does not waste breath on rumor. He does not ignite arguments with careless anger. He does not flatter to gain favor. When he speaks, others listen, because they know his words are not noise, but substance. This is the fruit of controlled speech: respect, trust, and peace. Think also of the times when words are needed. Silence is not an excuse to avoid truth. There are moments when justice demands speech, when courage requires you to raise your voice. The Stoic does not hide behind silence when duty calls, but even then he speaks with restraint and measure, guided not by passion but by reason. His words serve virtue, not vanity. When you control your speech, you also free yourself from regret. How often have you wished to recall what you blurted in anger, or to unsay what you revealed in haste? Mastery of the tongue prevents such chains. You learn to hold words in your hand, to weigh them before releasing them. If they serve wisdom, you let them go. If they do not, you keep them. The power of speech is one of the greatest gifts we hold. With it we can teach, inspire, console, and guide. But left unchecked, it is one of the most destructive forces we carry. To master it is to master a part of yourself that touches every relationship, every community, every sphere of life. So guard your tongue as you would guard your treasures. Let your words be like gold, rare, valuable, and lasting. Speak with honesty, with restraint, with purpose. Let silence be your shield and truth your sword. Then your speech will not betray you, but serve you, and those who hear you will know that your words are not the fruit of impulse, but the voice of mastery. The fifth lesson is the control of your reactions. Life strikes without warning and often without mercy. Insults, disappointments, betrayals, losses, these are not rare intrusions, they are the very fabric of existence. You cannot prevent them, but you can decide how you respond. This decision, the control of your reactions, is the difference between being ruled by the world and ruling yourself. The Stoics did not pretend that emotions do not exist. They knew anger rises, fear stirs, grief weighs heavy. To feel is human, but to be enslaved by feeling is weakness. The wise man does not deny his emotions, he disciplines them. Like a skilled horseman, he rides the wild animal without being thrown. He directs its strength toward the path of virtue rather than letting it drag him into chaos. Socrates, though not a Stoic, embodied this principle. Once, when insulted and mocked in the marketplace, he did not lash back. Instead, he smiled and continued in peace, as though the words had fallen on stone. His strength was not in never feeling insult, but in refusing to let insult dictate his response. This is mastery of reaction, the ability to choose your response rather than surrender it to impulse. The analogy often used is that of a sailor. The winds of life blow in all directions. You cannot calm the sea or command the storm, but you can adjust your sail. Anger is the storm that destroys ships. Fear is the current that pulls men under. But calm, reasoned reaction is the skill that keeps the sailor afloat. The Stoic trains himself daily in this art because he knows the winds will never stop. Control of reaction begins with pause. The gap between stimulus and response is where mastery lives. The insult is thrown. Pause before you answer. The provocation burns. Pause before you strike. The fear rises. Pause before you surrender. In that moment, reason awakens and asks, what is truly harmed here? What is within my control? What is the response that serves virtue? Marcus Aurelius advised himself to take a cosmic view. When anger tempted him, he would imagine the vastness of the universe, the smallness of human life, the fleeting nature of every offense. From that height, how petty the insult appears, how insignificant the betrayal. This perspective weakens the grip of emotion and strengthens the hand of reason. Consider the modern world where outrage rules. A single word online provokes storms of fury. A small delay breeds impatience. A slight disagreement becomes hatred. The Stoic path offers an antidote. Instead of feeding the fire of reaction, you become the one who turns fire into light. You do not deny anger, but you ask how its energy can be redirected toward justice. You do not deny fear, but you ask how it can be reshaped into caution and preparedness. You do not deny grief, but you use it to deepen compassion and humility. Practical exercises strengthen this mastery. When provoked, breathe deeply and delay your response. Count each breath as a reminder that you are not a slave to impulse. When tempted by fear, write down the worst possible outcome. Most often you will see it is survivable and your panic will dissolve. When sorrow grips you, reflect on mortality. All things pass, both joy and pain. This reflection does not harden the heart, but steadies it. Think of how powerful a person becomes who cannot be provoked. He is unassailable, for no insult can shake him, no event can unseat him, no fear can rule him. Enemies lose their weapons against him because he refuses to carry them in his heart. Even in chaos, he remains calm, and in his calm, others find strength. Your own life is filled with moments that test this lesson. A colleague undermines you, a loved one disappoints you, fortune turns against you. Will you let impulse dictate your reaction, anger, bitterness, despair, Or will you pause, reflect, and choose? The one path enslaves you, the other liberates you. Control of reaction does not mean coldness. It means transforming raw emotion into deliberate response. Anger becomes firm justice. Fear becomes thoughtful caution. Sorrow becomes tender compassion. Each reaction becomes not a chain dragging you, but a tool guiding you. This is how the Stoic turns the storms of life into winds that carry him forward. So remember, you cannot control what others do, but you can always control how you respond. And that choice, repeated daily, builds a fortress within you stronger than any wall, safer than any army. To master reaction is to master the self, and to master the self is to walk through life untouchable. The sixth lesson is the control of your time. Time is life itself, and yet it is the resource we treat with the greatest carelessness. Money lost may be earned again. Health may be restored with effort. Friendships may be mended after long separation, but time, once it is gone, cannot be summoned back. Each day that passes is a portion of your life surrendered, whether you use it wisely or waste it in neglect. Seneca wrote in his essay, On the Shortness of Life, that life is long enough if it is properly used, but most squander it in trivial pursuits, as if they had an endless supply. He observed that men guard their property with locks and fences, but they let anyone steal their time. Strangers, gossipers, trivial tasks, all are allowed to plunder the one treasure that can never be restored. What folly is greater than to be stingy with money, yet generous with the hours of your life? Time is not truly short, but we make it so by scattering it. Think of how a man spends a single day. He delays what matters most, telling himself there will be time later. He spends hours chasing diversions, indulging in arguments, drowning in distractions. He lives as though he has been promised 1,000 years, and yet the clock moves steadily toward his last breath. The Stoic never forgets this truth. You are dying daily. Each morning subtracts from what remains. To waste time is to waste life. Control of time begins with awareness. You must feel the weight of its passage. When you rise in the morning, remind yourself, this day will never return. When you lie down at night, ask, did I live this day as if it were a gift or as if it were a burden to be discarded? This consciousness sharpens the will and drives away idleness. Marcus Aurelius, though burdened with the affairs of empire, found time to write his meditations, not for the world, but for himself. Surrounded by armies, crises, and the endless duties of rule, he still guarded moments to examine his soul, to sharpen his philosophy, to remind himself of virtue. If an emperor could find time for self-mastery, what excuse do you and I have? The truth is not that we lack time, but that we waste it. Modern life offers endless traps for time. The glow of screens, the lure of endless entertainment, the noise of news and gossip, hours vanish before we notice. You must ask, do these things enrich my soul, or do they rob me? Am I shaping my time to build strength, wisdom, and peace, or am I letting it be stolen by trivialities? If you were told you had only a week left to live, how many of the things you now spend hours on would still matter? To control time is to prioritize. Not everything deserves equal weight. The Stoic ranks tasks not by urgency, but by value. He asks, what serves virtue? What serves wisdom? What serves the betterment of my character and the lives of others? These he places first. The rest he treats as noise to be reduced or ignored. Practical methods help in this discipline. Rise early, before the world clamors for your attention, and dedicate the first hour to reflection or work of true importance. In the evening, review your day and ask where your hours were well spent and where they slipped away. Set boundaries on distraction. Guard your time as fiercely as you would guard your treasure, because it is more precious than gold. But do not fall into the trap of frantic productivity. The control of time is not about cramming every moment with activity. The Stoic knows leisure has its place, but leisure used to restore the mind, to contemplate, to connect with loved ones, not to drown in idle diversion. To control time is to live with intention, to ensure that even rest serves the greater good of a life well lived. The ultimate perspective on time comes from remembering mortality. Every day you live may be your last. Do not let this truth depress you. Let it awaken you. When you live as though time is infinite, you delay love, delay courage, delay wisdom. When you live as though time is short, you speak truth today, you forgive today, you act with justice today. You no longer wait for the right moment, for you know that moment may never come. So hold time as the most sacred of possessions. Let each hour be weighed, not wasted. Do not surrender your life to distractions, to the demands of others that do not align with virtue, to the endless noise of the world. Live each day as though it were both your first and your last. Then, when the final hour comes, you will not say, "I wasted my life," but "I used it well." To master time is to master life. It is to walk with urgency, without panic, with purpose, without frenzy, with calm awareness that every breath is both a gift and a responsibility. And when you live this way, you no longer fear the shortness of life, because you know you have filled the days you were given with the fullness of living. The seventh lesson is the control of your ego. Of all the enemies within, none is more deceptive than pride. Desires can be seen, fears can be felt, anger can be recognized, but ego often disguises itself as strength, as wisdom, even as virtue. It whispers that you are greater than you are, that the rules do not apply to you, that the world should revolve around your will. The Stoics warned that this illusion is the greatest obstacle to mastery, for how can you govern yourself if you are blinded by self-importance? Marcus Aurelius, emperor of the most powerful empire of his age, reminded himself daily that he was small. He wrote that soon he would be gone, forgotten like the countless men before him. The palaces he ruled would crumble, the statues erected in his honor would fade, the very names of his enemies and friends alike would be dust. He stripped himself of grandeur in his meditations, reducing himself to a man, a soul, a fragment of the universe. In this humility lay his strength. He could rule Rome without being consumed by Rome. Ego blinds us to truth. It makes us deaf to correction, resistant to wisdom, and arrogant in success. It magnifies our worth while diminishing others, and in doing so, it isolates us, traps us in illusions, and ensures our downfall. History is filled with rulers, generals, and leaders who rose to greatness but fell because they believed themselves invincible. The Stoic, by contrast, seeks invulnerability through humility. He does not deny his abilities, but he refuses to worship them. He knows that all he has is borrowed from fortune and can be taken in an instant. Epictetus, born a slave and crippled by his master, spoke with emperors and nobles, yet he never claimed greatness for himself. He reminded his students that true dignity comes not from rank or fame, but from living in harmony with reason and virtue. To him, a beggar who mastered his passions was greater than a king who was enslaved by pride. Ego measures worth by comparison with others. Stoicism measures worth by alignment with virtue. To control your ego, you must practice constant remembrance of mortality. Death humbles all. The crown and the beggar's bowl alike turn to dust. When you feel pride swell, recall the countless men and women before you who once thought themselves indispensable, now forgotten. Recall that in 100 years, few will know your name, and in 1,000, none will. This is not cause for despair, but for freedom. For once you cease seeking immortality and reputation, you can live fully in the present with simplicity. Service is another remedy against ego. When you act not for yourself but for others, you train your soul to see beyond its narrow cage. The Stoics valued the common good above personal glory. Marcus Aurelius saw himself as a servant of the empire, not its master. He wrote that what benefits the hive benefits the bee. To control ego is to remember you are part of a greater whole, a limb of the body of mankind, not its head. Gratitude also dissolves pride. Whatever you possess, talent, opportunity, strength, has been given by nature, by fortune, by others who paved the way before you. You did not shape the stars under which you were born, nor the age into which you entered. You are a participant in a play written long before you, free to act your part well, but not the author of the stage itself. To remember this is to be grateful instead of arrogant, humble instead of boastful. Modern life feeds the ego ceaselessly. Social media parades the self, encourages endless comparison, demands recognition for every action. It tempts you to measure your worth in likes, followers, applause. But the Stoic resists. He knows the crowd is fickle, that praise today may be ridicule tomorrow. He grounds himself not in public opinion, but in the quiet approval of conscience. The only question worth asking is not, how do others see me, but am I living in harmony with virtue? The man who controls his ego is unshaken by either praise or insult. He does not swell with the one, nor collapse under the other. He remains steady because his value is rooted not in reputation, but in principle. He seeks truth, not applause, service, not glory. He remembers that the self is not the center of the universe, but a fragment in the vast order of things. In mastering ego, you complete the circle of self-mastery. For what use is controlling perception, desire, action, speech, reaction, and time if ego corrupts them all? Without humility, perception is clouded, desire swells, action serves vanity, speech boasts, reaction grows defensive, and time is wasted in chasing recognition. But with humility, each lesson finds its balance. You see clearly, want little, act justly, speak wisely, respond calmly, and live each day with purpose. The Stoics did not teach the destruction of the self, but its right placement. You are not nothing, but you are not everything. You are a part of a vast cosmos, called to live in accordance with nature, to contribute to the whole, to master yourself so you may serve others. This is the paradox. The less you seek to exalt yourself, the greater you become. The more you humble yourself before truth, the freer you are from illusion. The man who bows before the vastness of the universe stands taller than the one who worships his own reflection. Control your ego, then, and you will walk through life not in chains of pride, but in the freedom of humility. You will not need the world to praise you, because you will know that virtue itself is your crown. And when your final day comes, you will meet it with peace, knowing you lived not as a slave to your own importance, but as a servant of wisdom. We have walked through 7 lessons, each a key to the fortress of self-mastery. Control your perceptions, and you free yourself from the tyranny of false judgments. Control your desires, and you cut the chains of endless craving. Control your actions, and you forge character with every choice. Control your speech, and your words become instruments of truth rather than weapons of harm. Control your reactions, and you rise above the storms that toss others about. Control your time, and you live with urgency and purpose instead of squandering the one resource you can never regain. Control your ego, and you humble yourself before the vastness of life, gaining freedom from illusion and pride. Each lesson is a step toward true freedom. Together they form the crown of self-mastery, the only crown that cannot be taken from you. Riches may vanish, power may be stolen, friends may betray, health may decline, but no one can strip from you the discipline you have forged within. This is why the Stoics called philosophy the art of living. It is not an ornament for conversation, but a weapon for survival, a compass for the soul. You must understand that this journey does not promise ease. To master yourself is the hardest task a human can undertake. It requires vigilance when your mind grows lazy, restraint when passions rage, courage when fear whispers. Yet this is the battle worth fighting, because all other victories mean nothing if you lose here. The man who rules nations but not himself is a slave. The woman who conquers others but not her own ego is defeated. True kingship, true greatness, true peace are found only in the realm of self-mastery. Do not delay. Each day you postpone discipline, your habits grow stronger against you. Each moment wasted in distraction or indulgence is a stone added to the wall of your own prison. Begin now with the smallest of acts. Pause before you judge. Decline one unnecessary desire. Speak one word less than you wish. Choose one action of virtue over ease. Guard 1 hour of your day as sacred. Lower your pride in one encounter. These small victories, repeated, will build a citadel within you. Imagine the person you could become if you lived these lessons. A person unshaken by insult, unchained by desire, unbroken by loss. A person whose words carry weight, whose actions inspire respect, whose days are filled with purpose, whose ego bows before truth. Such a person is rare, but not impossible. The Stoics believed that every human soul holds this potential and that philosophy exists to awaken it. When your final hour approaches, the wealth you gathered, the honors you received, the comforts you enjoyed will fade. But your mastery of self will remain. It will give you peace in dying as it gave you strength in living. To die having ruled yourself is to die free, and to live having ruled yourself is to live as nature intended, noble, calm, and whole. So take these 7 lessons not as lofty ideals, but as daily practices. Do not merely admire them, live them. For the world may shake, fortune may turn, people may fail you, but if you hold command over your mind, you hold command over your life. No man is free who is not master of himself. Let this truth be your shield, your compass, your crown. And as you walk forward from this moment, walk not as a slave to impulse or pride, but as a ruler of your own soul.